Diaval got a staff. Can you believe it? I'm cramped in my car. I'm in a parking garage and I don't want to leave because the setup for my phone is not great. I just got out of seeing Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and now I'm in my car and I just wanted to spew my thoughts, basically. This video will be done in pros and cons in 2 sections. Of course, the first section will be spoiler-free and the second section will have spoilers. So, spoiler-free section. Pros. Sam Riley, off the bat. Let's just start with Sam Riley. I was so excited for the return of Diaval, and my only complaint, which is a con, but I'm gonna give it here anyway, is that there just isn't enough of him for me. He plays a much heavier role in the story in the first movie for reasons. I don't think there's like anything wrong with that. I just personally wanted more Diaval because I like him. He's, you know, just as funny, just as useful, just as appropriate in this movie as he was in the first movie. The cast, other than Sam Riley, is all good. I mean, Angelina Jolie, like, knows what she's doing. Let's be real. She's Angelina Jolie. Nobody else could play Maleficent like Angelina Jolie. The kid that plays Philip is a completely different actor from the first movie, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's fine. Chiwetel Ejiofor is there for a time. I think that the CGI in this movie is far and above the first movie. Especially with like the fae creatures from the moors. They're a little bit easier to digest, even the ones that still look like Mucinex boulders, according to Sarah. They still kind of look like Mucinex boulders, but they're not as offensive, I guess. I don't think this is super spoily, because we know from the trailer that Maleficent finds more fae creatures like her with horns and wings, and they're like humanoid, but they're also magical. And it's pretty clear, like right off the bat, that these dark fae are from all over the world. And I'm talking about like Earth and not like this live action Sleeping Beauty canon fairy tale fantasy world, but they did work. Maybe not the best work or the most work, but they did work to include different references to different Earth cultures. I wouldn't say that the different like fae of color, for lack of a better term, are, you know, Indian or Native American or African of any African country or anything. I wouldn't put specific terms to it because A, it doesn't take place on Earth, and B, because it doesn't take place on Earth, I don't think the same kind of cultural boundaries exist. It's more of like just magic versus humans, like muggles versus wizards kind of dichotomy. And that can be a good and a bad thing. I'm not making a claim on either end of that spectrum. The writing in the back half of the movie is pretty solid. Aurora has so much of a role in this movie, it's like almost ridiculous, but like in a good way. I don't want to say anything that'll like give anything away, but I'm just like, considering how little a role she has in the 1959 film that this is loosely based on, but certainly not a continuation of directly, Aurora has a lot more say in what goes on. And Elle Fanning is just, once again, a perfect cupcake. Oh my god, the costumes. No hot pants. We have 0 hot pants. We have 0 outfits throughout the movie that even feel like hot pants. There's like one dress that might be a little too modern for my taste, but it's not any more or less offensive than like a couture dress on Rain. The sets are amazing. I really like the sets throughout this movie. Especially the like nest hive thing that the dark fae are kind of congregating in. I don't want to struggle too much. I don't want to make it sound like I'm struggling either, because I'm not. So those are my pros. Those are my non-spoiler pros. My non-spoiler cons. Like I said, not enough Diaval. I just wanted more of Sam Riley being Diaval. Probably just the first third of the movie is a little messy. It's really only like the first 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes if you really want to stretch it that far. That is, the writing is mostly a little messy, and the pacing a little bit. The names of the Dark Fae are unintelligible just upon hearing them. Couldn't pick them up. Have no idea. I know Ed Skeen plays a character that's name starts with the letter B, and Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think his name starts with C, but I cannot be sure without looking at IMDb, and I can't do that because I'm filming on my phone. I don't really know what else I could say that won't spoil something, so I'm gonna cut the non-spoiler section of this video off there. So if you don't want to be spoiled for Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, you should click away now and come back when you see the movie, if you see the movie. If you don't care, keep watching. I'm just gonna ramble for another like 25 seconds until I start talking about the spoilers. But for right now, the spoilers are coming. The non-spoiler section of this video is officially over. Click away now. Okay. Now we're doing spoilers. Oh, here's the biggest spoiler pro that I've got. I feel so vindicated. I can't even share this with Sarah until she sees the movie, but I feel so validated right now. So in the review for the first movie that Sarah and I just did, at some point in the video, I said something about Maleficent turning Diaval into a phoenix while she turns into the dragon. And Sarah made fun of me for that. Well, I would just like to say that the species of dark fae, magical dark fae that Maleficent comes from is a direct descendant of a phoenix. I'm not taking credit for like calling that for coming, but the fact that Sarah made fun of me for that and then it ended up being canon makes me so elated. Chiwetel Ejiofor's character shows Maleficent, a phoenix that's caught in amber, basically, like the mosquito from Jurassic Park. Like, it's just caught in suspension. Its fossilized bones are on display in this area where the Dark Fae live, and they like worship the phoenix because it's their originator. And then later in the movie, under circumstances, Maleficent dies. I'm not kidding. I wouldn't lie to you about this. And she is resurrected. Her ashes are resurrected by Aurora's tears of love. I'm not kidding. This is really what happened in the movie. I know I said that the back end of the movie was stronger than the front end, and I still stick by that. Maleficent is revived and turns into the Phoenix. They make it very clear that she is the only direct descendant of the Phoenix. All of the other Dark Fae people are just Dark Fae people that have like vague, limited magical abilities, but Maleficent is the strongest and most powerful one because she's directly related to the Phoenix that they worship. And then she becomes the Phoenix that they worship. So I just feel like I was right. The most serious scene happened in the movie where Maleficent straight up dies. And I just start giggling because I recall being made fun of for mentioning a phoenix in a video about Maleficent. Before the movie came out, I kept seeing, I wasn't reading any articles or anything. I really wanted to not have this spoiled for me, but I did, see the headlines of articles and stuff that said something along the lines of Maleficent deals with massacres and genocide, and it does. I don't think it pulls the metaphor through all the way, but I also don't think the pitfalls of the use of the metaphor take away any of the very clear and direct imagery of a race or species of beings rebelling against the extermination of their kind. I don't think you can miss that, is what I'm saying. The relationship between Maleficent and Aurora as far as mother and daughter goes is kind of back and forth in this movie because Aurora is a human and Maleficent is magical. She's a dark fae. I wouldn't say it's wishy-washy because that implies that it isn't done well, like the back and forth isn't done well. I think it truly is. And I say that because the emotional payoff of Aurora reviving Maleficent with her tears of pain and love, and then Maleficent taking her human form or humanoid dark fae form again and saying something along the lines of, "You're my daughter." That was so successful. I almost cried. I was only distracted because I really wanted to get back to my car and talk. I do really think that that moment in particular of Maleficent no longer being Aurora's godmother, but Aurora's mother, was done so well. So Diaval, at one point, Maleficent and Diaval are walking past this tapestry or a shield or something on a wall, and there's a bear on it, and Diaval is like, "Have you ever considered turning me into a bear?" And Maleficent just kind of rolls her eyes at him, and then during the big fight, he gets like clobbered by knights. Maleficent shows up out of the dark fae nest and turns him into a bear, but of course he's Diaval, who's actually a raven, so he has, is he a raven or a crow? He's a bird. So he's a bear, but with bird features. He's got a beak. He's got feathers like he does when he's a wolf. Also, I really like bears, so I was happy with that transformation. And I was happy for Diaval because it's what he wanted. I really like Diaval, okay? I think he's my favorite character. Okay, I think I hit all my big spoiler pros, so I'm gonna go into my spoiler cons. Queen Ingrid as a villain. She's quite simple. God damn it, you know what? I wouldn't say that she's essentially Maleficent from 1959, but like, she is that kind of one-dimensional, more or less evil for the sake of being evil. She does have a backstory, and I don't really fault her for having that backstory, but she plays at being nice, but is actually just straight up evil the whole movie. That's not really the con. The con is that, first of all, she has Warwick Davis working for her. I don't have anything wrong with Warwick Davis. That's not the problem. The problem is that she's imprisoned a fae folk to create dust that kills other fae folk. And then the bigger problem, I think, is that she somehow has gotten custody of the spindle, the spinning wheel from the first movie. I think they only gave her this, A, so that she had some way to put a sleeping curse on people, but B, because they needed the iconography of the spinning wheel and just kind of threw it at her. They do not ever explain how Queen Ingrid got the spinning wheel. She has it in a cavern and then she just uses it. Also, something about Queen Ingrid that I think is just kind of, it's overdone, and it kind of drags the movie down in that way, is that Philip faces off against her and, you know, does the thing where he's like, "You lied to me. How could you possibly lie to me, mother?" And she's like, "I gotta do what's best for the kingdom." Just that trope in particular, it's so overused. And given that Sarah and I like Maleficent because of its creative liberties, I would have liked to have seen something different. Chiwetel Ejiofor, I still can't remember what his character's name was, dies. I have seen online, especially on Twitter, people talking about how this movie kind of falls under a pretty racist trope. I will leave information and links in the description below so that you and I can both be more educated on this issue, because I know very little about it, and I also did not read articles before I went into this movie. I just looked at the headlines so that I would be aware of what people are saying, and then I could go back and understand what I had seen. Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, he's nice, he's soft-spoken, he helps Maleficent learn everything in the span of 10 minutes. I don't know too much on this subject, so I will defer to people that know more. Just be aware. Also be aware of the fact that he dies. I think those are all the thoughts that I have currently at this moment. If anything comes up between now and before I post this video, I might just tack it on at the end. But I think I hit all the things that I absolutely wanted to talk about while I was sitting in the theater. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please click the bell below so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, especially and including our 5-year anniversary videos, the continuation of this celebration. If you're not already subscribed, please do so down below as well, especially if you'd like to see more videos on Disney, feminism, pop culture critiques, and more. One of us will see you real soon.